anytime you do something for the first time, there's bound to be something that goes wrong. There's also some things that go right. I got to meet some great people in the audience, ask some questions. You guys got to learn a little bit about me. So it was one of those days where, whether it's snowing in Canada or the government of the United States is just going to close their borders and not allow us to fly out. We just never knew what we were going to get when we got here. Today, in this session, we're going to talk about business-to-business matchmaking with AI, not guesswork. Now, B2B has been guessworking this for decades. We've been replacing, in our organization, gut feel, manual pairing, tribal knowledge, with a system that understands products, vendors, operational realities better than any spreadsheet ever could. It's about reducing the noise and increasing precision. Quick roadmap though. We're going to move this story along from problem to intelligence to outcomes. This time, I promise to keep it slightly more focused, business first, and not overly technical. However, you asked some questions about me before, and so I inserted a slide about myself. I have been working in technology for about 25 years, and I teach at a university back in the United States called Brown University. I think a great deal of what we're learning about AI and what we've seen and what you're going to see within these sessions, you can learn from a generation that is literally being taught with those tools right at first hands. And I'm humble enough to stand up here and tell you, as a college professor and a CIO, there's a student that comes to my classroom every week with something new in AI that I have to learn. And it's been an amazing journey. So look at those young people and ask them a lot of questions, because they do know something that we have not seen before. Some of you asked, what does Silver do? And I think we talked about this in the keynote, but it is a over a century old food distribution company, and it's important for you to understand that, because what I'm going to show you is very specific and in US patent pending content for today. So the B2B matchmaking problem, it's the manual pairings of all these moving parts. It's the reliability. It's figuring out that even the best people can't mentally map thousands of vendors and products and specification documents. Even with substitution matrices, it's a structural problem. Human beings just can't do that. Where I work at Silver, we have over 77,000 SKUs. If you accelerate that to the holiday season, we're talking in any type of seasonal item, it can burst to almost 10,000 different SKU types. It is a lot of information for our sales representatives and our chefs to try and remember. One of the things that we've seen is the cost of this guesswork. The supply opportunities, it needs to not be delayed, but you don't want to have callbacks and incorrect bids and those kinds of pieces. So imagine this, you're a sales rep, and you're looking at a menu for the very first time, and you're trying to figure out, remember we sell food, you're looking at it from a menu of what we're going to eat. I have to figure out what the ingredients are inside of those dishes, right? Because the salesperson has to do that for the chef or the sous chef or whoever's buying with you or procuring those products, right? That's what we have to do. What we've done is we've created this magic using AI that one of our marketing people and I had an idea. So we take the data from our system and we take AI at its core and we're going to mix it into Magento. We're going to mix it into this Adobe Commerce. We're going to give an option for the chef to see the entire catalog, everything that they have going on. But first, the data had to be super clean. And the foundation that we had was a little inconsistent. The model became a horoscope generator of what we were going to eat today, or what was the chef going to buy. And then we created this app. Now And we call it menu match, or menu IQ. I want to give you a backstory for this though. It's Jessica and I from our marketing team. We're in a New Jersey shore town, walking past a new restaurant that we had not seen before. And outside the restaurant said coming weeks, and the opening was like 2 or 3 weeks from there. And they had this menu placard behind a piece of plastic, drilled in or nailed into the side of the building, right? And we looked past it and we did, how are we going to figure out what we can sell these guys? And we started looking at the dishes in the menu options. One of them was like a filet mignon, one of them was like a spaghetti dinner. We're like, okay, so we need some flour, we need some eggs, we know how to make spaghetti, right? Okay, we got that. Are they going to make it fresh, or are they going to have something brought in? What are we going to do? Then they have the steak dish. Well, we assumed, right? What are some basic ingredients that you're going to choose to make steak with? Then we thought, well, we have 7,000 different versions of steak. What steak are they going to use? What cut was it going to be? Is it a prime? Is it a choice? Is it no? What was it going to look like? Now, very food-specific conversation here. So what we did is we created a place on a mobile app that can be both from the internet, from the Magento portal, right, or from an app that Silver actually has. What if you could take a picture of this menu and you could parse that menu right then and there in real time? Because right now, the salesperson comes along and they pull the menu, they take a picture of it, they go back to their laptop, they start looking up SKUs, trying to figure out what's in those dishes and looking up the ingredients in those recipes. That's what they're doing today, right? That's what you would do. You go home and you try to figure out this catalog and you go through the recipe, even when you're making some cookies from whatever, your grandma's recipe. You go to the market, you go buy all the ingredients, everything, but you still have to go through and parse it all. And then you have to write your shopping list. That's what happens, right? So what we decided to do is allow you to take a picture of this and upload it into our site. And then our AI tools parse this information, go through it, catalog it, and create the menu match. So I took an example here, one of them from one of our local restaurants of USDA prime filet mignon, and it recognizes that, and it says, hey, we know that that is part of the extracted menu content, that it can read right from the picture. And now, it's going to focus on what can we do? What do we need to have? How much margin? What is the preference? What are those specifications that the chef needs in order to buy that dish? So here's the example. This is the real menu. This is Steak 48 in Philadelphia. You're welcome, Steak 48. We went to the site. They weren't a customer yet. We downloaded the PDF and said, what are we going to do? And if you look in the center there, somewhere right in here, you have filet mignon. It's the first thing that it gets picked up. But it doesn't tell you all the different ingredients in the filet mignon. It doesn't tell you what the chef's going to use. So what we took was all of our customers' history of their order value and then started parsing it against what's this customer's filet mignon dish most likely have in it. We know it has the protein itself, but what else? Butter, garlic, salt, thyme, right? We went through and we took a very, very close guess at what it's going to be for that dish based on this place being a steakhouse. So our sales rep, if you look at this entire menu, I don't even know how many options are on there, plus all the enhancements and the side meals and everything else that you can add to it, right? This ended up being almost 160 or so different SKUs, some shared across. What it did is it parsed it into our catalog, which took 3 to 5 days of work for our salesperson, and cut it to 7 minutes. And in 7 minutes, it went through and said, okay, by default, that restaurant's going to serve an average of 150 plates between the delivery dates that we offer for each dish. And I gave you a couple others in here so you can see, including some of the estimated plate cost through the menu. This is in US dollars, right? And we upload it. The AI extracts it. It analyzes the dish's names, the descriptions. It automatically identifies the ingredients required per dish. It maps it into our catalog with the real SKUs And it gives you a confidence scoring. And it shows the pack sizing, pricing, and the product divisions. And then it goes through and we set the plate count, and it calculates exactly what's going to be needed for your chef to make this number of plates. And that tells us how many cases of butter, or how many cases of garlic, or how many cases of milk do we have to ship. It then goes through and detects anything that's missing, something that we may not see because it was an extra on that menu. And it goes through and it parses out the catalog, and then it makes the suggestion over here of what may be missing for that flaming apple. Black pepper, fresh thyme, garlic. Why? Because it's not mentioned anywhere on the menu. But we know that most steakhouses use those ingredients. But we also know that many other dishes use black pepper. And we don't want you to buy black pepper for every single dish individually. We want you to buy the shared ingredient across the catalog. So we did that. And then we added something that AI identifies using the Adobe side, where Magento can say, hey, if you don't have that product, it can see our inventory. You're sold out, or it's unavailable for whatever reason. Maybe there was a delay in getting it, right? So we give you a better choice, and it gives you an option, value and premium, and we take our choice, and we have one that is called for availability, and one that says, hey, here's the price for the case, and it gives you a substitution option. And I know our marketing person over there is going, basically, that's a strip line and ribeye. I know, but that's the best picture I could in the middle of my kitchen wine, right? And somehow this reduces the we're out of stock to, hey, here's the substitution, and it's a more strategic than let's just pick the closest thing on the shelf. It makes that suggestion for you. And then we calculate a little bit of human plus machine calibration or collaboration, right? And what happens? Well, AI ranks it. The category manager, the person within the silver that's trying to do the buying, they are looking at this, and we're reassuring the customer of what they need to buy. And the smart match removes all this grunt work, but not the human judgment. Our salespeople then go back in, and they go and create what's called an order guide. This thing right here. If you've been sitting on Magento for a while, you call the requisition list. We just relabel it. And it takes all of those products and puts everything on that menu into that customer's order guide. So they don't need to look at 7,000 SKUs. They need to look at the 250 that they need to complete their menu. And they do that in 7 minutes, or as close to real-time pricing and inventory as available. And it saves them a ton of research, both on the chef side, from having to parse the catalog themselves, and it gives a starting point for the salesperson on a net new account. All of this is done with 4 or 5 different pieces of AI. It's not just one. It takes a multitude to do that because it can read it in different languages. If you go to a Hispanic restaurant and it's written in Spanish, it can read it. If the chef handwrites their notes, it will OCR that text and import it for specials and things of the year. And I'm just giving you guys something that real world we do so you can think of how to apply this to your individual businesses. The impact was huge. We rolled this out and we've seen a 28% increase in revenue overall. We saw a 92% retention rate in our salespeople and staff because they didn't spend 3 to 5 days doing administrative tasks, they got out there selling more. We see 19% AOV increase, and I hope that continues. We've seen a 40% reduction in manual matching time. That is huge. Huge time savers. I actually think this number is slightly light, but statistically we saw about 22% faster for vendor onboarding. Because now the vendors are excited they can sell something in a product catalog, and it's not going to get mixed in with something else. If they have a premium product, it gets selected as a premium product. And then, last but not least, we saw this 17% margin lift because we're using it to make sure that they're getting what they need on their delivery dates within time. The next steps that we need to do currently Silver sells direct to consumer as well, but our direct to consumer website is on Shopify. Don't tell me about it. So we're going to merge this in with the Magento product, the Adobe Commerce product that you have. We're going to use wonderful partners like the people that you have here. I won't say anything, but maybe this one. And in real time, the vendors, we're going to give them access to update some of the SKU information so that it doesn't have to happen with our admin team on the back end of the time. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you allowing me to be here.